Every day, Ray left for work early, never once failing to return home until 2 days ago. That morning, he walked out the door as usual, but he never came back. His wife contacted the police, and the police launched an immediate investigation, scouring through Ray's known connections and daily routines, searching for any lead that might explain his sudden disappearance. As inquiries continued, Ray's wife approached one of the officers with a nervous urgency and said yesterday, an alarming message was sent from his phone to our son. The text claimed that several people had taken him hostage and were torturing him. We waited anxiously for further messages, a ransom demand, anything, but there was only silence. Then something even stranger happened. My husband's cell phone abruptly stopped working, and we lost contact with him as well, and continued. Apparently, my husband's friend knows something about Ray's disappearance, she said. He mentioned that my husband's toxic friend, Joe, claimed Ray called him the night before he vanished, asking him to find an antique. Ray supposedly went to one of the excavation sites at Hashia Yeferosko. The lead was peculiar, but it was something to follow. When questioned, Joe gave a series of convoluted and contradictory statements, raising immediate suspicion. Ray and I have been friends for years. We're like family, Joe insisted. But recently, he got involved with a few people searching for antiques in Hefirosco. The last time I saw him, I dropped him off at one of the excavation sites myself. After that, I have no idea what happened. However, in a later statement, Joe changed his story. Ray came to me in the middle of the night and said he had found something underground. He claimed he was going to sell the antiques. I told him to be careful, but he seemed too excited to listen. The inconsistencies in his account did not go unnoticed. While initially Joe's words didn't seem damning, investigators soon unearthed a more troubling fact. Joe had a criminal record, including 2 prior offenses. Digging further, the police obtained a warrant to search his home. What they found was chilling: an illegal weapons bill and 5 unregistered firearms. With this discovery, Joe was taken into custody as the primary suspect. Yet something about this case felt off. If Joe was responsible, why send a message from Ray's phone, only to fall silent afterward? And what happened to Ray? The deeper the police dug, the murkier the truth became, leaving one terrifying question unanswered. Was Ray even still alive? After several questioning sessions, Joe confessed to killing his friend but claimed he had no intention of murdering him. The defendant said, "I went looking for Ray so we could go hunting together. We went to hunting zone and prepared the gun. Ray said he would hit the target first, and then it would be my turn. After Ray took his shot, I got behind the gun. While he was preparing his target, I didn't see him clearly, and I accidentally shot him. The arrow struck him, and I inadvertently caused his death." Joe continued, "I panicked and thought about taking Ray to the hospital, but he was already unresponsive and no longer alive. It was dark, and the area was surrounded by dense woods. Out of fear, I buried his body and went home. Later, out of shame, I told his wife that Ray had gone to an excavated place and hadn't returned. The police, after investigating the area, discovered where Joe had buried Ray. His remains were recovered and sent to the medical examiner for further examination. After legal proceedings were carried out, a criminal complaint was filed against the accused, and the case was brought to the second branch of the criminal court. During the hearing, the elders demanded retribution and stated they were unwilling to forgive under any circumstances. They argued, this man intentionally killed Ray due to an old dispute. This was certainly not an accident or coincidence. When it was Joe's turn to speak, he said, "I do not accept the charges of manslaughter. Ray and I were close friends for years, and we had no disagreements. We shared a common interest in hunting, which is why he called me and invited me to go hunting with him. A few days earlier, the authorities had confiscated my weapon for poaching. I retrieved my gun and drove to the cement factory, where I picked up Ray. Together, we went to one of the hunting locations. My gun didn't have a camera attached, so we decided to set one up on the weapon. To stabilize it, we used a water tank as a stand. Ray was the first to start adjusting the setup. Because the camera wasn't aligned properly, I took the weapon to fix it. However, I didn't notice that the first shot had knocked the camera downward. I asked Ray to adjust the stand next to him, but since the camera was tilted, I couldn't see where he was standing. At the same time, a strong wind was blowing, causing the target, an apple, to sway. Ray leaned over to place a stone next to the apple to stop it from moving, but I didn't notice his position. I fired, and the shot struck him in the head. Joe continued, "Believe me, I had no idea my friend was in the line of fire. I didn't notice his presence at all. At the moment I was focusing on the apple through the camera, Ray had moved closer to it to place a stone underneath. He and I had been friends for years, and we never had any disagreements. If you review the text messages exchanged between us, you'll see that I'm telling the truth. Ray and I were good friends, and what happened was entirely accidental. I had no intention of killing my friend, whom I had known for so many years." Then, Joe's defense lawyer stood up and presented his case, stating, "My client did not shoot intentionally. The positioning of the stand and the strong wind were the primary reasons for this tragic accident." However, it seemed that Joe's claims about the unintentional nature of the shooting were not believed. Given that his statements appeared inconsistent and unrealistic, the judge ultimately found Joe guilty of murder charges, sentencing him accordingly.